Hello and welcome. I am Debbie Scheller from A Likely Story Bookstore in Sykesville, Maryland. A Likely Story Bookstore and Carroll County Public Library are happy you joined us tonight for our special author event. As a reminder, you will be able to ask the authors questions at the end of the program. Please type in your questions at any time in the chat bar, and we will get to as many as we can at the end. Also, we have a special gift with the purchase of The Last Kids on Earth, The Doomsday Race. We have a Last Kid on Earth foam goblet plus a signed book plate. Don't forget to call the store at 410-795-1718, or you can order online at www.sykesvillebooks.com to get your signed book plate, goblet, and your book, The Last Kids on Earth, The Doomsday Race. Also, you can purchase your copy of the Pathfinders Society as well. Books are also available at the Carroll County Public Library branches. Tonight, Max Brallier is a New York Times, USA Today, and Wall Street Journal bestselling author. He is also the writer and producer of the Emmy-award-winning Netflix adaptation of The Last Kids on Earth. Book number 7, The Last Kids on Earth and the Doomsday Race, was just released on Tuesday. We also have 2 surprise authors with us tonight, Francesco Sedita and Prescott Saradarian, the authors of the Pathfinders Society. Book number 2, The Curse of the Crystal Cavern, came out this summer. We are so thrilled to have you, all 3 of us, here tonight. Max, last time we had you for the Midnight Blade Tour in 2019, and you brought Big Mama with you. How's she doing?
I think she's okay. There was supposed to be a second. There was going to be another road trip with me and the illustrator using it, like our first in-person stuff. He's going to fly over from Australia. We're going to do a cross, but then the world changed.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Next year we're going to do it.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know who Big Mama is, she is the zombie apocalypse getaway car in the Last Kids on Earth series, and it was a big hit. We had her parked out front. Kids came and everybody got pictures. They just love seeing her in person. So we're very thankful all 3 of you can make this virtually for us tonight. So let's start out. Max, why don't you start by telling us a bit about the most recent book, The Doomsday Race?
There's Big Mama.
Oh, there's Big Mama.
There she is.
The Doomsday Race is book number. It says number 7 on the side, but it's actually more like book 10-ish in Last Kid series, because we have like an activity book, which is like pretty large book. It's more like a guide to the world, and there's also the June book, which is very much a real book, but it's not numbered because it's like only her, the other kids, and I was terrified of disappoint, like people would get it thinking it was the next one. But now like they kind of mess things up, because then like you don't know what's in there, and people are like, why is the one with like the heroine not numbered? And that's messed up. And like it wasn't that. Like, I didn't want to mess anything up, and then I messed everything up. So Doomsday Race is the first one. I think it's the first one to pick up exactly like the same instant as the previous book, which is my new it's because I'm bad at doing endings, but it's like now it's like so I pretend it's on purpose, but it's a cliffhanger, but it's actually like I couldn't end it, so now I just say that. And it's the big idea is the kids are out now, like in the on like a big epic quest that will sort of like lead us into the end of the series, I think. And they are trapped inside a shopping mall, the world's largest shopping mall, which is now home to a bunch of like a whole society of monsters, and they have to kind of battle for control of the mall in a school election, which is actually like the mayor of the city, but it's like all like school election gags and stuff. And
awesome.
Yeah.
So, Francesca, you want to tell us about the new Pathfinders book?
Sure, of course. So this was book 2 that just came out in July. It's called The Curse of the Crystal Cavern. Prescott and I have been working on this idea for quite some time, about 12 years. And so having book 2 come out has been a dream for us to see that it's actually real. Book 1 came out about a year before. And, for us, and Prescott, please jump in, but it's so many things for us. It's really paying sort of respect to a lot of the movies that we grew up with. I would say that book 2 really was inspired by some Indiana Jones for us, for sure. The Breakfast Club, Goonies, books like that. And so it's really an adventure story with 5 kids who meet in a small town that's inspired by the town that Prescott grew up in, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Prescott. You want to go from there?
Sure. Yeah. So I live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, in between New York and Philadelphia. And I'm coming to you from my classroom, because in my other life, I teach film, if you couldn't tell by my backdrop right now. So I teach in high school, and there's a little bit of American history in this area. This is where Washington, that famous painting of Washington crossing the Delaware River, happened like 10 minutes down the road. And where I grew up, in a town called Doylestown, there is this kind of eccentric person, a real life person who was alive about 100 years ago. And his name was Henry Mercer. And he was a kind of an early version of Indiana Jones. He was more of a scholar, but he also was an archaeologist who went on these excavations, and he was into artifacts, all these things. And he became in love with castles in Bavaria after touring Europe about 120 years ago, back before traveling was a big deal. I mean, it was. Anyway, so he became in love with the castles to the point where he wanted to build his own. And he built a castle here in suburban, I mean, it's a quaint old town with a castle in the center of it. And Francesco and I have been working on this idea for a long time. Early on, it was a much different idea, a little bit more serious. And then he and I were just working together, collaborating. I took him to this castle, and instantly, like, this adventure story, it just kind of shifted. It was almost like a record was in this groove. This is our story, a little bit more serious. All of a sudden, no, why don't our kids have fun? Why don't they go on this crazy adventure and with clues and inspired by this real world thing? Very, very much. I mean, I think that, Max, I think we're all kind of sharing this inspiration, possibly, of kids facing big odds and just rising to these challenges of just amazing adventure, really. So
yeah,
it's
and
been
the same inspiration. Like, it's like my like just to my Indiana Jones.
Oh, there he is.
Ah.
Yeah, I had the most ridiculous it's the coolest candle. Look at this. I haven't burned. I have a whole Indiana Jones corner of my office.
Oh, wow. This was not set up. We didn't even know that.
I had this Raiders of the Lost Ark candle, and when you light it melts, and like his face is revealed underneath.
Amazing.
But I'm like, so I want to light it and like, I don't know, like do like a time lapse of it and like pause it halfway.
Oh yeah.
Melt it. I'm scared. I'm gonna mess it up. Like, I know I'll mess that up, and so I'm scared to do it. And it was
right.
Like there was like one left I found on eBay, and like so like they're not like easy to come by. And they have like a bunch of Goonie stuff too. So I think adventure, and then like kids rising to challenges, and also like kids on their own sort of is like a big like thing. Like half the reason I did less kids, half the reason like I was like, oh, like End of the World is gonna be fun, was because like I didn't want to deal with like cell phones and like kids check in with their parents and like all that stuff. Like that just I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. That seems so. Yeah, so that's a large part of that.
You both the books have a great cast of very different, diverse characters. Tell us a bit about how you came up with these different teams of characters, and do you have a favorite of your characters? Scott, you want to start?
Oh, Debbie, you're putting us on the spot. Favorite characters. Well, okay, so we have, I would say our story changed quite a bit from what it was originally, but our characters never did. And so this is the first book. So we have 5 characters, and Francesco spoke about Indiana Jones. I think that there's an entire era of films. Probably we're going to date ourselves from the 80s. But I think that we were inspired by a Breakfast Club dynamic where these people didn't know each other and they had to come together and kind of work through differences to try and find this collaborative place where they could all transcend their differences and then, work as a unit, as a team. So that was always there. And I would say there's two characters that I'm just going to go out on a limb and pick my favorite child. Okay, so I think our lead character, his name is Kyle, and it's kind of the story's told through his eyes. He's like the every kid. And I think I respond to him because he came from a single parent. He kind of lives with his mom. So there's a personal connection there. So I'll probably say him, but I also say this other character, her name is Beth, and she's a history nerd, like unabashedly. She's the one, if they need something, she's like the conduit to the historical society. There's a lot of history mystery in our story. So she's the one who is all like gung-ho history, and it ends up helping them. Like history is not usually a popular topic, but she's so unabashed and sincere that all right, I'm going to say Beth. I'm going to pick my favorite child. I'm going to say Beth. There it is.
Okay, Francesco, what do you say?
I think for me, it's Nate and it's Harry. Harry wants to be a magician. As a child, I wanted to be a magician. It was a very real many years of my life. And then turned out to want to be a writer, which somehow feels similar in many ways. And I think Nate, especially in book 2, because Nate's character really develops in book 2 in a special way. And I think Nate's that kind of kid that you just want to give a big hug to all the time. Like my heart really sort of melts for Nate. There's just something about him that you just feel really sort of close to. So Harry and Nate for me.
Okay. And Max?
I just went to the Magic Castle for the first time, and it's the most amazing place on earth. I have to tell you,
Awesome.
The Magic Castle in LA is like the coolest thing I've ever been to.
What is that? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
It's like, do you watch Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Okay, so like where like Job goes and like he has like the Society of Magicians that he has to like deal with.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like the real version of that. It's like an actual castle, like an old mansion where you go and they do magic everywhere, and you can just like pop in and see like amazing magicians like in the corner doing like little stuff, or like there's like also like bigger like sawing woman in half things, and
oh my god,
wow.
it's so cool.
Okay.
Anyways, because I really love magic. Like I really love magic. And I keep using. I get myself in a jam in Last Kids. I've found myself twice now using close up like sleight of hand magic as like a reveal later on that like wait, how do we know that? And then like they find something in their pocket, like we didn't realize that like the wizard like put that in there. And then he's like using magic.
We've been down that road before too.
It's like very comes in handy. So I don't have a favorite. I don't have a favorite. I have my favorite thing to write is the kids together, like being funny and like kind of angrily like funny yelling at each other like in danger, like the end, like the Ghostbusters, the end on the rooftop. Like that's like, I always like want to be writing that scene when they're like, you know, Ray, like, you know, sort of like that is like that's what I always want to be writing. So like that's my favorite thing to write, and like I want it to sort of feel like that a lot too. It's tough to balance. Like I find it tough to balance like actual like life and death stakes with like wanting to like, you know, the kid's not like curling up in a ball and like, you know, like,
right.
At the end, like, you know,
yeah.
It's like they're still like, you still like want to root for them and you know, you still like enjoy being with them and like the story can even continue because, you know, so I like writing them like messing around and like having fun and sort of doing that the dialogue. It's like the sort of like, you know, the monster is like closing in or you know the trap is about to be sprung and then it's like, what did you do, Quint? And he's like, I didn't know what I did. I didn't mean to do anything. You the one who said to do the thing. Like that stuff is like, so I just like when they're all kind of together and it's like, and it feels like I like that. And like I very much wanted to write characters that felt like you like wanted to be friends with them. Like that was like a big thing for me. Like growing up, was like I liked things that felt like one of the reasons I love the Goonies is like I wanted to like I love the adventure of it, but I wanted to like be friends with them and like hang out with them. And,
totally.
That I wanted to sort of feel like that. Yeah.
Wait, Debbie, can I just interject a question for Max?
Absolutely.
So, Max, were your characters formed early on, or did they evolve? Like,
No,
you know who they were?
They evolved a lot. Like I think they weren't formed at all early on. I think like Jack a little bit, but they all really changed. And that's another tough thing is like having them change, but still trying not to feel like it came out of left field. Like it can be a small thing, you know, when it's like sometimes it's like in book 7, it's like revealing like if Quint's like, oh, my favorite movie series is this, and like he would have said that by now through all these other I did not say that before. Like that he loves like some made up movie series. But I think that like in book 2, like I don't know, they evolved a lot. Like part of that was natural. Part of that was like looking to create conflict and things to cause them to do that, so that there'd be like conflict within the stories and stuff. Yeah. How about you guys?
The thing that you were just talking about, sorry, I just want to go back to one thing really quickly about what happens when they're, when your characters of a certain age are in peril and they kind of have a fight or an argument. Like, what does that look like? What does a kid who's like really going through some major life stuff, kind of life or death stuff sometimes, how do they fight, or how do they get upset or angry? And you don't want to make them curl up into a ball. And we just sort of went through, Prescott and I just went through a really interesting scene where the kids sort of get through something that's pretty intense on a river. And it's like, what happens when they all survive, but they're all completely freaked out and scared, but they kind of want to be kind of cool about it. So that scene and scenes like that, I think it's interesting that you said there are sort of favorite moments and favorite scenes as opposed to favorite characters. Scenes like that, to me, are some of the best to write, because I think Prescott and I rewrote that scene like 40 times because we just wanted to make sure that we really got that pitch right.
I don't even remember.
I think it's done. But I love that thought of like, when you really want to make the kids feel really real, what happens when a kid almost dies on a river? Like, how do they and their 4 friends sort of pick up the pieces and sort of keep moving on? And so that was a really interesting part of this process for sure, especially in this adventure series that we're doing. Yeah.
I find it interesting. You work as a team, and we've had other authors that have worked as a team as well. It's very different. Some, it does well. You write like together every day, or do you each take a part of your writing?
Well, Debbie,
if only there were an easy
all
answer.
the above. No, well, what I will say is that it's good that we were continuing the series, because we were very well conditioned to working remotely. So Zoom was like, it didn't interfere with our workflow at all, because I'm here, he's there, and we've been kind of writing collaboratively, digitally, through this kind of platform. But generally, we create the structure together, and then we see what we like most. If we have a clear blueprint, it's pretty open. It's a little, we allow the story to kind of, take its own course. But I think you name it, like he started and then I've continued.
Yeah.
We've divided and conquered. We like to keep, we're working on the 3rd book now. We're finishing that up. And I think that we've allowed the process to really each book has been kind of different. Right. But I think we're constantly in communication, which is so key. It's really
during COVID and everything, all of you were, stuck at home or wherever. Did that change the way you wrote? Max, did anything change for you during the lockdown or anything?
Yes, so I never like to write at home or anything. I always like to write in New York. I would go to like coffee shops during the day, and then other establishments at night for drink. And write, and like so like that's like that was always like I couldn't really work at home ever. Even like my apartment building, we had like a little like tiny little like lobby thing, and I would sometimes go down there, but like I needed to be out of the house because it was I that's like how I sort of switched. So that was hard, and I still like even now I can go back to stuff, but like I find it hard. Like it's like I've almost like lost the habit of doing that. And so now, like, I'm bad at working at home and out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I'm still like trying to figure out kind of how to get my groove back.
Yeah.
How
about you two? Is it pretty much the same for you two?
You know, I think for Prescott and I together, it feels the same because we have worked remotely for so long because I'm in Manhattan and Prescott's in Pennsylvania. But for me, one thing that I have known about myself for a long time, and it's only gotten more elevated during, being at home during this COVID time, is like I need to play tricks on myself in order to get myself to write. And they kind of vary. Like the only time I want to write is when I'm actually not supposed to be writing is sort of how this goes. And so I have to I just have to let that happen and lean into that. And it's not like about a muse, calling suddenly. It's just more like, I'm a brat even with myself, and the only way I can get myself to do things is to trick myself into doing them. So in COVID, it's been, I couldn't go to a coffee shop, which was often really helpful for me. So I kind of just tried to explore different parts of our apartment, and that helped and did something for a while. But you run out of corners in a New York City apartment pretty quickly. Right. So it's been challenging.
Yeah.
Your apartment looks like. It looks like in a wonderful way. It looks like with the light. It looks like a green. I feel like Jay Leno's gonna like walk in that door and be like, like green room.
He's not able to come tonight, but he often walks into this room. So.
He's like, your manuscript is late. Let's go.
Right, exactly.
So Max, since your most recent book is about an epic road trip, on the back of an enormous centipede monster.
Mm-hmm.
Describe your ideal road trip.
So I'm supposed to take my ideal road trip. I think I'm supposed to do it maybe at the end of next year. I've always wanted to go. I've never driven cross country, and so my dad and I are going to try to do it together for no reason other than to do it. Not like to get anywhere. It made it sound like it was like climb Mount Everest or something. Just getting in a car with like cruise control. But I love that book. Was the road trip one is really fun because I'm looking at my bookshelf here. Like I love and not like in a ironic like nose raised way. I love like kitschy like roadside stuff and Americana. Like I really like that stuff. And so I want to do all of that, like as much as that is possible. Like I'd rather see like honestly, if I knew I had like 6 months to live and I could only see the world's biggest ball of yarn or the Grand Canyon, I would take the world's biggest ball of yarn. And so like I want to do a bunch of that stuff. That's like my ideal road trip, and like
that's awesome.
Bad motels with like gross swimming pools and like stuff like that is like very much what I'm into.
The off-road restaurants where it's a mom and pop restaurant, not the chain, and that type of thing. That would be awesome. I think that's a great road trip.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the Pathfinder Society, you have an explorer, Henry Merriweather. Will any other explorers make a presence in any of your books, or are you sticking with him?
Well, so he's a part of a society, and so there are other members of the society who contribute. There's inspiration. There's like a code about finding your path and seeing. It's set in a summer camp, and that's what this person did. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to pursue in our story treasure, but like there's like a goal down the path. In fact, his motto is actually inspired by the real person who he's inspired by, Henry Mercer. And he was an artist. I kind of described him a little bit. He would make these really amazing ceramic tiles. And he had this beautiful castle made of poured concrete. And he was, back in the day, kind of a pioneer with that material. So he made a whole castle out of concrete back when concrete was really not readily used. So, but by that, he was able to imprint things. He was able to actually make rooms with like no edges. So he was able to like carve the sides of these places. He was able to make secret passages and put these tiles. And he had this motto, long story short, called plus ultra, which was more beyond, which was on, this is a Latin phrase. It's historic. It was put on maps back in the day, meaning that there's, you know, actually it was no non plus ultra, where there was areas of the map that wasn't defined yet. So he is a part of the society, and he knew that he wasn't going to be able to kind of get to the final destination on the path. So he left these breadcrumbs for other people through this camp. And so there's a lot of activities you can do with this camp. There's a lot of skills you can get, almost like, you know, Jedi Academy and this kind of thing, to just be more sensitive to path in general. And if you're able to know the currents of life, you can kind of use your canoe during treacherous waters, or you can fly your kite when the wind will take it. It's almost like a mini superpower. And so he left these clues, but there's others behind him. He's like a tradition. We can't say too much about it.
Right.
He's not the beginning or the end, but he's definitely the entry point of the whole.
Sounds
story.
great. Max, what celebrity would you take on your mythical quest or battle, or to battle out the monster?
I'm going to lean in for this answer.
And why?
Oh boy, what celebrity? I don't. That's a really hard one.
Can it be like famous? Like not. Like,
I was looking at like Indiana Jones.
Whoever. Who would you like to take?
I was looking at Indiana Jones. I was like, I'll take it. And then I was like, no, it's crashing planes every other month. Like, you know, like, oh, a fly is there on a golf course. I don't know. I think none of them are celebrities for sure. But I would like. It'd be fun to do like this is a good. So like I had this movie idea about like what if a Bond villain was like there's like a Bond villain like a sort of super villain, but he was like a regular kid when he was younger, and then like when like he hatches like his most like evil plan ever, like the CIA and everybody, they go to like his two best like middle school friends because like there's like a clue embedded in there that like calls back to them, and they like these two idiots have to sort of like get involved in like the CIA because it turns out the bad guy's just like lonely or something or misses his friends or I forget, but like basically if like, you know, like Dr. No or like Goldfinger or something, like you were like if you were like just like friends with him, he's a nice guy like in fifth grade, and then like you're called upon. So like I don't know, I would like if I could bring like my friends from growing up, who are still my friends now, but if we could all go back and be kids growing up and then go on like an epic journey together, that would be like the dream. Yeah.
Francesca, the Pathfinder kids are at camp. Did you go to camp when you were a kid? And did you bring any of your camp skills and adventures to the story?
So I'd love to just start by saying my answer for Max's question is Madonna, and that's always my answer. So it's an important part of like who I am, so I have to say that. Also, I think she would really help me get through some stuff because she's pretty tough. And that might lead to this answer, which is no, I never went to camp, and I have no outdoor skills. and so any of that part of our storytelling really comes from Prescott and me saying like, wow, that sounds terrible. I'm never going to do that. But yeah, that should be in the book. I wasn't a camp kid at all.
Well,
I went to day camp for one day and cried for the whole day. So my parents thought.
I'm cracking up. Would you
go to our camp?
Would I go to what?
You like writing camp things and not knowing anything about camp at all, and you're like
nothing.
So okay, so then they're gonna go to the cigar shop, Oh, okay. So then, like, they all go get to in like their big leather chairs, and like, no, that's not how it works. Like, oh,
I'm like,
okay.
oh, it's not like that? That's weird.
Sorry.
And then Jay Leno walks in.
Yeah.
That's right. So Prescott, you did go to camp.
I did go to camp.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
a big proponent of camp. Yeah, camp is good.
I like
Sleepaway
your
camp.
question to Francesca. Though. Would you go to your camp? Pathfinder.
No. No. No, I
Oh.
would. I would. It's the only camp so far that I've ever encountered that I think would actually be quite fun, especially if I wound up on the adventure that these kids are on, for sure.
I mean, yeah. With these friends, come on.
That's right.
Yeah.
So tell us what's next. What's coming up, Max? What's coming up for you?
I'm right now late as always on next two Last Kids books. I'm outlining. That's the outline on my wall. That's
Wow.
Cool.
the next. That's book 8, and then the one on the floor down there is what's basically book 7.5, which is a Quentin Dirk solo, not solo, a Quentin Dirk duo book. Oh, that sounds cool. I should have called that Quentin Dirk duo book. Like, it's called Quentin Dirk's Hero Quest, which is them like on their own. They get sort of separated at the end of the most recent book. And then sort of outlining. I'm for the first time like really sitting down and like actually trying to outline like the next 5 books, not just in like broad strokes, but in sort of in detail and stuff like that. So
Okay.
Last Kids, yeah.
Prescott and Francesca, what's coming up for you guys? You said you were working on 3, so
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 is
we're,
coming.
Yeah, we're very excited. I mean, I'll speak for maybe both of us. So book 3, there's a lot that's going to be coming together here. Speaking, Max, of what you were saying, we went for like cliffhanger from book 1. Like book 1 ends and book 2 is like bam, like the next moment pretty much. And book 3 is similar, but we left on such a cliffhanger. I mean, the fact that still like we're on the tail end of COVID, we haven't really gone out. We haven't done many events at all, and I haven't talked to many readers, so I'm kind of curious about how that cliffhanger on book 2 is how people are responding to it.
Yeah.
But book 3 is I'm so in love with book 3. We're working with such an amazing collaborator. Steve Hamaker is our artist, and he's been hard at work on book 3. We definitely threw some super ambitious set pieces, like big scenes at him with our fingers crossed, and he just like he was exhausted. He handed us back pages like, what do you think? We're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Book 3 is coming out next
we
year.
always feel bad for Steve, the illustrator, because it's, Prescott and I have known each other for quite some time, since college, and we've worked together for a long time, especially on this idea. So it's like, we sit around like writing this thing, and then this poor guy gets this manuscript, and it's like, oh God, what were they thinking? I mean, I always feel like he just sort of, curses us for the first day or two. And then when he like figures out how he can do it, he sort of really gets into it. But I feel bad for those first moments when he's like, oh, really? They're going to do that? Okay, great. Thanks.
You're like interior. Secret base looks like, remember that restaurant you went to that one night? He's like, we have to do this.
The thing with a guy and he's wearing that other thing, just like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, we have some fun lightning round questions. So these are real quick questions for you. Okay. And we'll just kind of go around. So Max, we'll start with you. Besides a primate, name a primate besides monkeys and apes.
Oh, wait. Really? Doug Holgate. He's the illustrator of Last Kids on Earth. He's Australian, and he is a prime mate.
Oh,
there you go. Francesca.
The answer.
Same question.
Same question?
Yeah, same question. We're doing
Monkeys or apes? We can't say that? What else is a primate? Are humans primates?
Sure.
Are you being nice?
Prescott, you got one?
Primate, screaming fire monkey.
There you go.
That's a monkey.
That's a thing. But...
Yeah, Debbie, you're letting him off very easily.
Weapon of choice. We'll start with you, Prescott. Weapon of choice.
What kind of what?
Weapon of choice.
Oh.
What's your weapon of choice?
Weapon of choice. I'm gonna say all right, I'm gonna go movie. In the movie Tron, they had those like flying electronic discs, like frisbees that are almost like boomerangs. I'm gonna say like a flying frisbee boomerang.
Francesco?
Laughter.
Oh, good one.
Oh.
Oh, look at you, Max. Weapon of choice.
That's. Oh wait, you know what?
Max
Like
is Googling primates.
He has a zombie smasher in the background. I see it.
I like. I like.
There you go.
Ooh.
Still in the box.
Oh wow.
Still in the box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like my daughter's friend was over here and like tried to play with it, and I was like that guy who was like the creepy guy. He's like, "Don't touch like the toys. Those are toys for adults." And I heard myself, and I was like, I don't want to be that person. And then, like my favorite.
But yeah, it's still in the box.
Like,
Oh,
What's
wow.
happening?
Infinity Gauntlet. Wow, that actually has sound when you actually close your fist.
Wow.
that's so much stuff. Yeah, my office is. I built a fake RV trailer because I want to work out of an RV, but I couldn't like get one or anything. So I built. My friend who works on movie sets built me a fake RV.
Oh.
That's what I work with now. And there's like fake weapons everywhere, but the real answer is lightsaber.
Awesome. Okay, Francesca, we'll start with you this time. Are you more likely to be the one captured or the one rescuing the captee?
In life, I would say rescuing. In like the woods, I'm gonna be captured in like 5 minutes.
Max?
Let's see. I've never. It's supposed to be a lightning round, right? I'm really bad at lightning rounds. Probably captured. I would be captured in the woods. Definitely captured. I'm not good in the woods. I've never been. I've not even been glamping because that seems like a whole thing. But I do want to do that. But I don't. I've been camping, like real camping, once or twice, and I don't like it. It's not for me.
Prescott?
Well, Debbie, I think context is everything. So it depends on what the scenario is. If it's if I'm fighting fire monkeys, I will probably win, but maybe not.
You will?
No, I would not. I mean,
You're not winning against fire monkeys.
No.
Are they real? Is fire monkey real?
I don't. I mean, no, I don't. Yes,
Okay.
it is, and you be very careful. I would say if I'm in Max's stories, I would definitely be captured. Like what his characters do repeatedly, I'm like, no, that's where my story ends, right there.
Right.
And they're like, so captured.
Best kid movie of all time. Max, you want to start?
This kid movie called Stand By Me.
Oh.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Stand By Me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Awesome movie.
I mean, that we got to qualify that. I agree with that answer, but that's like later kids.
It's a heavy kid.
Maybe.
I saw that when I was 12, and I'm fine today.
Yeah, 12.
Despite
Okay, Prescott, you got one?
many weird things.
I would have said this even though it doesn't come up a lot and it doesn't relate to all of our work. I would say Goonies.
Goonies.
The Goonies is
Yeah.
I can't beat it.
Yeah. Francesca?
I'm gonna say Annie, the movie.
Oh.
I'm going for it.
Awesome.
It's pretty great.
That is.
It's pretty good.
The worst chore your mother made you do as a kid. Prescott, you want to start? The worst chore.
No, I don't want to go back there, Debbie. Worst chore. We had to clean the bathtubs a lot, but we never did. So when we had to, it was a bad chore.
Oh.
So bathroom related stuff.
Francesca.
I mean, vacuuming. I just don't. It just doesn't make sense. I understand what it does. I hate it.
It's so satisfying. You don't like
It's
vacuuming?
not. No, I'd clean that bathtub any second over vacuuming.
Okay.
Okay. Max.
My least favorite, even though it's easy, was bringing in the trash cans because I would walk past them on the way home from school, and then but I wouldn't do it. So like they'd be empty, but I wouldn't do it. So I'd just like push the task off, and my dad would like pull in the driveway from like from work, and I knew that like I was in a lot of trouble if they weren't in. So then I'd be like rushing out. It was a very high stress situation created out of but also I didn't like vacuuming. One time I was vacuuming and I spilled like chocolate milk and I was just like, I'll vacuum that, Mom. And then the vacuum began to smoke and blow. I was like too lazy to wipe it up, and I vacuumed up milk.
So we have some questions from the audience, kids, and we actually have some kids that sent us questions ahead of time. So we're going to start with some of our kid questions. And there's a lot of thank yous and for writing both series. The Samuels family, the big Pathfinders Society fan, and Last Kids on Earth fans in their house.
Cool.
Courtney DeLongs has 3 boys, and she loves they all love the books. How did you get your ideas for your books? Max, you want to start?
So Last Kids was the biggest level, like pullback version of how I got the idea. Was I was trying to be a writer, and I was writing really bad things that were not good. That I was like trying to be, I was trying to write for a living before, and I was like writing like a vampire romance, and like I wrote like a awful Sweet Valley High ripoff, where it's really bad. Sugar Valley Vamps. And good title. I reread it recently. It's so bad. But I was reading Big Nate and Wimpy Kid and Dork Diaries, and I liked the like illustration plus text thing, like the mixture of them, and using the illustration to sort of pay off jokes you set up in the text. Because like I'm very visual, and like I really love movies, and it's sort of movies that have influenced me in some way more than books, and so, but I wasn't. I know that I'm not, and I never was like fun enough to write like a sort of like middle school life type thing, but I hadn't seen anybody do like that sort of format in like an adventure, like Indiana Jones for kids vibe, and so that was like the beginning of the idea. And then I didn't want them to deal with like cell phones or bedtimes and stuff, and so that sort of led to the end of the world. And I used to live in Pittsburgh, and that's where like Night of the Living Dead was filmed and stuff like that. And so like I was like really into zombies like before sort of zombies were everywhere. We used to go to the mall from Dawn of the Dead, and so that's where zombies came from. But I also wanted giant monsters, and that's where giant monsters came from. And then I used to have a tree house in my backyard. It was like that I loved, and that was like where the sort of central location came from. That's Last Kids.
So you tied everything from your whole childhood together to make the series.
Yes, like all childhood. Yeah.
Wait,
can I just go back quickly? Yeah. So you love monsters? Is that just a general love, or is that like, is there something
like giant movie monsters? Like I really love giant, like big movie. I just like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like I had like the VHS of Godzilla vs. King Kong, and like I just like wore it out to where like wouldn't play anymore.
Well, that actually brings up Nathan sent in a question, and he wanted to know Max's coolest monster and scariest monster that you developed. Who do you have a favorite cool monster and scary monster that you developed?
I like Blarg from the first book a lot, because that was like when I was doing the first book. I think I didn't know if there would be any more books, so I was like, I want to make sure if I'm gonna get like the one monster that I want to do, and so that was like a little bit of the Rancor from Return of the Jedi mixed with some other things, and the scariest one is there's a monster in the new book. It's called the Pilot Thing. It's like a giant. It's a big, huge monster, but there's like another monster, like a sort of more humanoid one. It's like sort of like on top of it, like morphed into it, and like it's in the back sort of half of the series. It's getting like a lot creepier, and the monsters are getting weirder and more like messed up. And so in the next book, there will be like a mad scientist sort of doctor who has like been messing with stuff, and it's much creepier and scarier than anything so far. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But I had no name, so I keep calling him Water Noose, because that's the character from Monsters Inc., the bad villain. And so I sort of like picture him in my head, so like he's just like Water Noose, like final name to come, and written like all this stuff with like this name that's not at all the name.
Is that the hardest part? Is coming up with the name of it after you've come up with everything?
That is not the hardest part.
It's not.
That was great.
Actually, Sasha would like to know about the Pathfinders. She knows there's a dog in the first book. Are you going to have any? Is the dog going to come back in the second? I guess she hasn't read it yet. Prescott?
That's for Prescott.
Yeah. So yes, Sasha, get ready for more Asher.
Oh, good.
Asher is inspired by my dog, as a matter of fact. And, there's a fun thing that ties into the real Henry Mercer, who is inspired a lot of it. In this concrete castle, when he was building them, obviously, as we know, on a sidewalk, when they pour cement for a sidewalk, you don't walk in there. And he had a dog. He was a very big dog lover, and the dogs would follow him around all over his castle. And there literally are dog prints, paw prints there that Francesco and I saw these, and we were just enchanted. I mean, this guy let his dog run around, and then we just thought to ourselves, well, they're following paths, and paths are a big dimension. What if this dog was leading them somewhere? So that became a big plot point in book 1. And book 2 and then book 3, yes, Asher does come back in a good way. So
okay, great.
Stay tuned.
Cody says, thanks for signing one of your books at his birthday. And he was so excited to get your new book today, Max. So thank you for that. Max, what is your favorite series to write? We know you write quite a few different series. Again, it's like picking your favorite child. So,
no, it's not. Last Kids is not. Last Kids I find.
So it's not going to be the Sweet Valley High vampire.
It's not Sugar Valley Vamps with Alexa and Tess. It's not. Last Kids is hard. It's like it's like very much the most work and the most like kind of mental. I put a lot of like. I make it hard for myself, I think. So my favorite is the Mr. Shivers series that I'm doing now, like a short one, because I think so. Last Kids is like ends up being like about 38,000 words. Each Mr. Shivers book is I think 700 words, which is a big difference.
Oh wow!
But they're like spooky short stories for like it's supposed to. I think it's what does it say? Grade level 1, but all the reviews and I agree are that it is way too scary for that age level. And way.
Not just scary, way too scary.
It's way too scary. Yeah, like one of them.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like it's like in the new book there's one. In the first one is like a girl wakes up, she like has a hair in her throat, and it's like scratching her and driving her nuts, like a hair stuck in her throat. And then throughout the story, there's 5 short stories, and you discover that actually while she was asleep, a rat crawled into her throat, and and then she goes to the doctor.
Max,
its tail, and and then there's not, and there's another one where this kid won't stop. I think with fingernails. This kid won't stop chewing his fingernails and is driving his grandmother nuts. And like his grandma's like, stop! You want to have perfect fingernails like me? And then she falls asleep in a rocking chair, and she wakes up, and the kid is chewing on her toenails, and it's like that story. It's really weird and bizarre. And
where does this come from?
Yeah, I had one I got rid of that was
that's too deep right now.
I got one I got rid of that was too much even, but it was like a kid who kept sticking his head in the banister, and the babysitter was like, his parents were out of town on vacation, and the babysitter was like stop doing that, and the babysitter was like a real jerk or whatever. And then so the kid keeps putting his head in the banister to drive her nuts, and it gets actually stuck, and as she runs over to get him, she has a heart attack, and so then he's trapped in there. What? Yeah, I know. I just want her removed. So he's trapped with his head in the banister, and his parents are gone for a month, and she's gone. So,
oh my goodness.
Also, these are 700 words. You're doing this in 700 words?
Yeah. Well,
that's remarkable.
There's a lot of text. Each story is like 150. So what's 150 times 5? We will award 700.
Wow.
Yeah.
Grayson would like to know, who is your favorite villain? So, Francesca, you want to start?
Villain of all time?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, that's a good and difficult question. This is not my official answer, but you know, I recently watched the new Disney Cruella, the movie, and that backstory was so fascinating to me and great. So Cruella's just been on my mind for a while, and knowing why she became who she became, really, like, I kind of love her. My heart breaks for her. Like, I'm down with Cruella right now.
Scott, you have a favorite villain? You're the
Well, I'm
film
looking around at, like, 'cause in my classroom, I have a lot of movie references. I don't want to be cliche, and Max, I don't want to steal your answer. Does Jaws count? Is that a
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That man, yeah.
Yeah.
I take your answer.
Good
That's
answer.
what I was thinking.
That's a great answer.
I'm looking at a Jaws cup. So Jaws, David Bowie and Labyrinth.
Oh.
Let's see, trying to think of any other, like, really. The Tornado and Twister? No.
Tornado and Wizard of Oz. Oh.
I like movie novelizations. So
what about the creepy guy from Poltergeist? Like the Reverend guy. He actually might be on my list. Yeah. He's terrifying.
I think, yeah. Jaws.
Well, they're all good ones.
Jaws is the only one that ever, like, ruined my life for 20 years.
Right.
So you've heard it here first. The three of us are going to write the Jaws prequel where we get to know why Jaws became so
the backstory.
It's sad.
Grayson's brother Reed would like to know, I love the Last Kids on Earth show and the video game. Are all the books going to be made into the show?
I can't say for sure. I don't know, but I would love for that to happen. That would be the dream. Yeah.
That brings another question. Who is this from? Let me go. Where did it go? From Nathan. No, that's not Nathan. From James. James says, is the Netflix series based on each book? And will the Pathfinder series get a Netflix show as well?
Yeah. So the first special on Netflix is the first book, then the second season, the second book. First season is the third book, and then we did like an interactive one where you can, like, sort of pick your own Pathfinder, and that was based on nothing but, like, oh, we can, like, the kids can get eaten now, and the kids can get, like, you know, all sorts of stuff can happen. So yeah, that's how that works.
Awesome. And how about any tinkling of a series for you all?
Well, Steven Spielberg keeps calling, but we're just not ready to talk. No, we have some ideas for a series, and have had a good conversation or two, but nothing is real yet.
Not yet. We'll cross our fingers.
Please, yeah.
Will Jack and June ever kiss?
Oh man, I don't know. Like, I had no problem writing, like, the beginnings of a crush. But then, like, when it got, like, as that went on, I was like, I don't want to write it. Like, I don't want to write. I just don't, like, it's not my thing. Trying to write, like, that. So I think maybe, like, the last scene in the series would be them. It would be June kissing Jack's mangled corpse.
Caleb would like to know
in 150 words.
How many total books are you planning for the series? Max, do you have a number?
Not counting the little, like, side adventure things.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's maybe 3 or 4 more. I'm in definitely, like, in the end game. Like,
okay.
Yeah, especially after this one. Yeah, definitely. It's, like, very much
towards the end. Prescott and Francesca, what about you guys?
We're at 3, and we have ideas for maybe not more in the actual direction where 3 ends, but in the world.
Okay, that's awesome. And this is from Timothy. He would like to know, who is your favorite author? Prescott, you want to start with that one?
Well, I'm a science fiction fan, so I would say Isaac Asimov or Robert Heinlein.
Okay.
I don't know. and Shel Silverstein. You merge those together.
Good one.
Francesco, what about you? Do you have a favorite author?
I think my favorite children's book is Charlotte's Web for sure. I think my favorite author though is an adult author named Michael Cunningham, who wrote a few books that really affected me quite a bit when I read them. He also wrote The Hours, which became a pretty famous movie.
Right.
His books have really moved me a lot.
Awesome. And Max, how about you?
Bill Watterson writes Kevin Hobbs. He wrote Kevin Hobbs. Probably is my favorite writer ever. It doesn't. I'm not supposed to be a clever answer. I don't like have like a. I tend to like there's like a book that I like or an individual thing, but not necessarily like someone's whole like works. Like I love like some Stephen King books, but then others are like, how long is this thing?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think he can be a really great writer, and other times it's like,
yeah, I feel like I think like once he got so big that he'd probably ignore his editor, then it's like, keep writing. I would do the opposite. I'd be like, if I got like so, I'd be like, this book's 19 words. Rip a check.
haiku.
Yeah. So yeah, Bill Watterson, and I in general, I my favorite genre. I like to read I like westerns, so I like good like old like yeah, I guess Elmore Leonard would be, if I had to pick a favorite, it'd be Elmore Leonard. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all we can do tonight. We're at our end, and thank you all for coming and being with us virtually. Hopefully next year we can do this in person. It will be awesome. Don't forget, everybody, you can order it online at www.sykesvillebooks.com. Give us a call or drop in. We have both books in stock. And if you do order or come in for the Last Kids on Earth Doomsday race, you will get your goblet and signed book plate. So thank you for all for being here tonight, and come back and see us next week when we have our author illustrator for Unicorn Day on September 30th. Good night.
Bye.